In today's episode, we have Frankie Jago, who is going to share her experience from being overwhelmed with fear on camera to teaching camera confidence to others. You will also get to hear her story from journalism and videography to creating an online course business, how to create videos that lead your audience on a journey, and some secret tricks to deliver the best video content possible. And now, on with the show. Welcome to the Online Course Igniter podcast, where you'll hear from successful course creators and how they were able to turn their passion into a thriving online business empire. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the podcast today. We have Frankie Jago from Get Ahead Media, who's going to talk about video creation, and how to be more confident on camera, which is something I think all course creators can benefit from. So how are you doing today, Frankie?
Oh, I'm great, Jeremy. Thanks so much for having me here.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to hear your story and excited to hear about how we can help other people who are creating online courses and just creating videos in general, maybe for their blog or social media, how we can just, really make their videos stand out. And for the introverts among us, I can say that because I'm one of them, how can we be more confident on camera and present ourselves? But I always like to start at the beginning. I want to hear people's stories and how they got into online business and business in general. So if you would just take a minute and just let us know a little bit about you and what you were doing before you were doing online videos, and then how did you get into this industry?
Sure. Yeah, that's a long story, but I'll keep it as short as I possibly can because I hate when people just blabber on about themselves. So basically, I was most recently a journalist before I went into online business. But prior to that, I'm an award-winning filmmaker and photographer and an award-winning journalist as well. But it was journalism was meant to be an area that allowed me to use my video skills to communicate with people. But what I found out is that journalism really wasn't my bag. It was just too clickbaity for me, not stories I was passionate about. And so it was more about, obviously, the organization I was working for, which I think most of us find when we work for an organization, it's about them. And I wanted it to be more about my audience and what it is they needed, and people I could help, like the everyday kind of person, not necessarily sort of big business. Like I worked in the film industry. I didn't want to make $10,000 projects. I wanted to help the little guy. So I started my business partly because I was disenfranchised with what I was doing, but also because I had a little girl. She was about 6 months at the time. And I wanted to be able to be a mom that stayed and actually saw my daughter grow up. My parents worked 9 to 5 and they were weekend parents. You saw them on the weekends. And that's not what I wanted for my life and my daughter. So I started my business. And I guess that's the short version of why that came about.
Yeah, definitely. So when you decided that you wanted to create your own business, what were you thinking about? What did you decide to go with? And how did you even get into this role of online business?
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question to sort of prompt me. So it was around the time that Mojo was coming out. Now, Mojo is mobile journalism. So journalists were now expected to do everything themselves: photos, videos, write the story, everything. And now I didn't want to work with journalists, but it meant that I had a phone and had some understanding of how to create. I had obviously the film side of understanding how to create a video. And then I had sort of a bit of the smartphone because that was starting to come out. And so I decided that I would create a business teaching mainly comms and marketing departments how to create news videos using their phones. And then I branched into people more like me, the solo business owner who didn't have anything else but needed to compete with the big guys. But initially it was about the comms and marketing departments in sort of government organizations here in New Zealand. And that's sort of how that's what I wanted to make my business on. So it was in person. I hadn't actually made an online course until about a year after I started that business.
Okay, so you were doing live in-person events.
Yeah, training workshops, yeah.
Okay, and then how were you getting people to those events?
So this is where it's soul destroying. I knew nothing about business when I started, honestly. I'd run a sort of a wedding company, but not really a business person. It was more, a passion side project to other jobs. So I tried cold calling, which is just so horrible. Unless you're just a really amazing salesperson, just, I don't know, you have this innate ability. It's probably easy for you, but it was really crushing because I just got a lot of no's. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to be personable and let people know about my service. And some people were like, no, slam. And it's really crushing when you're starting out to have that happen. So the reason I was doing that is because I didn't want to be on camera. So this kind of leads into the whole camera confidence that we'll talk about is I've always had very low self-esteem. It's just kind of how I grew up, given experiences I had in my childhood. And I didn't want to be on camera for my business, but I realized what I was doing was not working. Cold calling, networking events was really just not the thing that was going to work for me. And I was a video instructor that didn't actually have videos, at least of myself, online, which sounds stupid when you say it out loud. But so I decided that I had to take a step back. I had to put myself out there. I had to be that face of my business and create videos more regularly, even though I didn't want to. And that's actually what got me my first clients. People started commenting on my posts, messaging me on my inbox in Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, and that's what got the business going.
Okay, so you were creating videos and kind of putting them up on multiple social media places.
Yeah. I started on Facebook and then ventured out into Instagram and then later YouTube.
Well, on like say Facebook, were you in a group or were you using a page, or was this just like your personal?
No, I created a business page, and that's what I was using to post my videos, and I probably shared them from memory into groups that I was a part of that allowed certain sharing of skills and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. And so you're sharing these videos, and then at the end of them you're saying, "Hey, I have a in-person event. If you want to come, this is how you can sign up or get there."
Actually, no. I didn't do any direct promotional videos because I didn't like sales, which is why I sucked on the phone. So more, it was about those sort of tips or putting out a motivational message around video or putting out like the latest news about this Facebook update, and that just got people commenting, hey, do you run courses? Hey, when's your next course? Hey, can I meet to talk with you about training some of our staff? That kind of thing. I never did a direct, like I've got a course coming up. I only ever ran courses in person with the organization at their request. So I never actually did public courses for the most part when I started my business. Yeah.
Okay, but that gave you the knowledge of how to structure the education and how to put that information together and relay it to people. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
So you're posting these videos, you're starting to see some traction, and you're seeing like, hey, this is kind of working. Like I'm posting videos and people are reaching out to me. Where'd you go from there?
So from there, I decided that I wanted to take my business into a more online aspect. I still wanted to have the in-person because I do like working in person with people. But I decided, let's create an online course so we can reach more people and show them what I've been able to do with obviously my business. My in-person courses were more around the planning, filming, editing, and distribution, but less about the whole marketing package because you can only do so much in 2 half days with an organization. So it was more, my online course was going to be more about, well, how do you grow your Facebook page? How do you build your email list? How do you sell that digital product? And so it's sort of grown from there. As I started, it was more about the how do you sort of get yourself out there and get fans and followers. And now it's like the whole kind of how to use video as a marketing strategy. But it was in 2016, 17, I don't even know when 17, that's right, sorry. 2017 that I created that first online course. I think it was around August. And that's sort of where my focus is now. I still do in person, but my focus is around the person who's like me using online courses, using my online course to teach them how to create and use videos effectively in their marketing.
Okay. And how did you host that course? Were you using a platform or did you just throw it up on your website?
Oh yeah. So I'm a big believer if you're gonna do it right. Like that's just kind of my mentality. And I knew that online courses was something, it wasn't like a side thing. It wasn't like, hey, I'm just gonna create this and if it works, it does and doesn't. And I was like, nope, I'm gonna do online courses and that's gonna be an area of my business that grows and gives me revenue. So I went with Kajabi. At the time that I created my course, it was kind of the best platform out there. And so I thought, well, it's a big expense, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. I don't want to start on a platform and then move to another platform. So I decided to do it on Kajabi.
Okay. And are you still using Kajabi now?
I am now. I actually use Kajabi only for my courses to begin with, but now my entire business is run through Kajabi.
Yeah, because it's all-in-one solution.
Yeah.
You have email and everything through them?
Yeah, absolutely. When they started, it was subpar compared to some of the other platforms I was using. I was using Drip and Lead Pages,
Hmm.
and so they weren't really up to scratch. But since they've had all these updates, I moved out of Lead Pages. I've moved away from Drip, and everything's in there. Email, Lead Pages, checkouts, course, everything is in there in Kajabi now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I know a lot of people who are listening to this podcast. One of the main questions that I get often in my group is which platform to go with. So I love
yeah,
talking about the platforms because it helps. I feel like platform is kind of dependent on a person's needs. So
yeah, for
hearing the
sure.
hearing the different platforms and how it helps people, that's awesome. Okay, so you are posting these videos, and then you already kind of had a following once you created your online course, correct?
Um,
Depends on how big of a
yeah, it
following I
depends
mean,
what,
right?
yeah, exactly. Depends what you determine as following. So I probably had, I don't know, honestly, I don't remember exactly, but maybe 200, 300 people on my Facebook page, maybe. And then I had 20 people on my email list because my focus wasn't my email list. And so I didn't really nurture that. And I had not much on YouTube happening whatsoever because YouTube again wasn't my focus. My focus was more Facebook.
Mhm.
But I didn't actually have like a huge following to start with, which was scary because you're like, oh, can you actually launch a course and not have a following? And the answer is yes. If you're listening, you certainly can because I did it. So yeah, no, I didn't have a massive following, but I did have something to start with. But actually, I ended up having more cold traffic converted to that course than warm for that first launch.
Okay, awesome. And that first launch did pretty well, it sounds like, and then gave you the motivation to continue forward.
Yeah, I think even if it hadn't done well, I was going to continue with it because I knew it was something that was going to work. It was more about how I messaged it, or my messaging around it, or targeting the right people, or that kind of thing. I knew it was going to work. But yes, it did go well. I'm happy to share numbers. I had 5 people in that first course from a list of 22 that signed up for the webinar. I think it was, and 20 of them showed up for the webinar. And so yeah, I was happy with the results. I wanted more, obviously, because when you're starting a business, like I want to go
Yeah.
gangbusters and be massive and tons of money or massive impact or whatever it is you're after. But 5 was a good starting point, and yeah, regardless, I would have kept going. So
Yeah, that if I heard you correctly, you had 22 sign up and 20 show up, which is
yeah,
first of all amazing because
yeah,
it's hard to get people to actually come
yeah,
once they sign up, and then a 25% conversion rate sounds like
yeah. I
that's
was
good enough
stoked.
to. Yeah, that's definitely a winning strategy because then it's a numbers game, right? You know
It
that if you
is
get 2,000 people in, 50 people are going to sign up. So,
exactly.
cool. Okay, awesome. So you get those people in, and then where did it go from there? Were you did you just strictly focus on them? Was the course built out at this point, or were you
No.
still working on it?
I had the structure of it. So when I was marketing it, I'm like, this is what we're going to be doing. And I will release a module live every week. Some elements were pre recorded, but most of it was live teaching using Zoom. And so the students got to show up and ask me questions, which obviously made me a better course creator because I'd be like, oh, I didn't think to include that. You know what? I'll include
Mhm.
that in another video or whatever it was. So I built it out with those first students who joined.
Okay, yeah, and that's man, it's so powerful to do that because, like you said, you get that direct feedback. You think of things to add or different ways to say things that
Mm,
you might not ask a question that someone else the way they would ask it.
yeah, absolutely.
So okay, very cool. So you get people in, you get this first group of people through, and start seeing some success. And then what did you do after that? Was it just getting driving more traffic or doing more videos? How did you grow this course after this initial group of people went through it?
Yeah, so it was about reaching more people, driving more traffic to sign up pages, growing my followings on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It was kind of all of those angles. Even creating a more efficient video creation process for myself because, as I just said, I was on multiple platforms. So it's about making sure that I'm not just spending all my time making videos because I have to run the business and I have a family and I'm very into surfing and that kind of comes first sometimes. Um, if you're a surfer, you know exactly what I mean. So,
Yes.
okay, good.
Answer is yes.
So yeah, it was about sort of building it up, but not spending all my time doing that. I had to figure out efficient ways of doing it. So then what I did most was I probably focused on Facebook and YouTube the most, and then I sort of delved into IGTV and Instagram a little bit more, a bit later down the line. But it was about creating videos. I say consistently But let's be totally clear. I don't think you need to make a video every single week of your year. I think it's about having strategies, which obviously someone has already spoken about that, and that's what we're sort of not going into today. But having a strategy that allows you to create videos for a specific goal, and you only might have videos go out for 6 or 8 weeks for that quarter of your business cycle. It's not that you have to do it every single week, but what you do put out has to be effective. So it was about me trying to figure out, well, where's the balance in terms of putting content out, not just putting out stuff to have it out there, and actually putting out quality. So all that kind of went into practice for myself, and then obviously went into my courses. The more I knew, the more I learned, the more I updated my main program with better skills and techniques for the students.
Nice. And we can talk a minute about some of those strategies. So, if someone, say they had an online course and they were on YouTube and they wanted to help, promote their course through YouTube, how does one come up with what videos to make? How do you decide on what you're going to have for free on YouTube and what to talk about? Because you said it needs to have a reason, right? You need to have some kind of action that you're using these videos for, not just random things you're talking about. So how do you decide on which videos to create?
That's a great question. So yeah, it does entirely decide on your goal, and you've said the goal could be, that creating, launching your digital product, and so it's about. I teach sort of a series of videos as part of like a roadmap. So, sort of one of my steps is your roadmap to that goal that you want. And it's about thinking what kind of videos are going to lead your audience on a journey that they feel like they've instilled in themselves enough skill and know how to do what they want to do, whilst also leaving, them. They can't have everything basically in the space of whether you're doing a video series or a challenge or however you're sort of building that relationship with your audience. Or I do video series, obviously. Um, and basically, you have to leave them in a gap that takes them from where they are now, feeling that sense of motivation and that skill that they can do it. This is possible for them, but in order for them to get there is obviously to join your program. And so it is a series of sort of, I guess, like I like to call sort of how-to videos, are kind of your positioning you as an authority in a subject. But then you've also got your more motivational videos as well that come part of that series. So that's things that sort of delve more into why you're doing business and what it's been able to do for you and what it could do for your audience, and showing them what's possible, as opposed to just the how-to content. Yeah, that's good, but that alone will not convert a bigger audience. It's about connecting with them on a deeper level. So it's kind of like I said, two videos, that kind of motivational, inspirational content, as well as those how-to, working together in order to build that deep relationship.
And these videos, when you create them, they're kind of around a central subject that you're trying to hone in on.
Yeah. So if your digital product is about, video marketing, then you're obviously going to be targeting like me, for example, or video creation, video marketing. You're going to be talking about elements of that and how it can affect their business, what it can do for their business, what the key things are they need to know. Same if you're talking about, I have a course called Easy Video Course Creation, which is, the same kind of thing. You're talking about, well, how can you easily create videos for your course? So you'll be centering your topics around that. And really, you just need to think about what is it that your audience is focusing on. What is the top of mind for them? You'll see it in groups that you're in. People will be like, hey, I don't know how to do this, or I'm thinking about this, or like you said before, what platform is best for making my course? Questions are out there. They're in your face, especially if you're on Facebook, and it's about sort of recognizing them when they pop up and incorporating them into your videos.
Yeah, the Facebook is so powerful in that regards, especially when you join communities or create a community of your own, because people love asking questions, and that's just research right there for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if anyone else does this, but I create, you can create like a list or what is it called on Facebook? It's called like a list or a favorites list or something. And I'll create one for each industry or whatever I'm working on. And when those questions pop up, I save them.
Oh
So
yeah, the
that
saved thing, and you can
yeah,
tag them as
I
a
can go
box.
back.
Yeah.
I got one that, if I'm creating a course on guitar playing, I can go back and look at all my guitar questions that people have asked, and there's a course for you. There's videos for you.
Exactly. You're exactly right. Yep.
What are some examples of, you said, there's the technical, the how-to videos. Those are great in YouTube for search results and things. But then you also said you need to have some of those motivational videos to show people that it can be done what you're trying to teach them. What would be some good examples of motivational type videos?
Cool. Okay, yeah. So I like to think of them as you standing for something. So I'll give you an example that I did recently. Is that most people think, okay, I shouldn't say most people. Some people think that you need to spend money on better gear in order to have better videos for your course or for your video marketing. They're like, oh well, now that I've tried on my phone, it doesn't look very good, or whatever your hangups are. I need to buy a DSLR. I'm going to go buy some soft boxes or whatever it is you have on your mind. So mine would be like, you don't need to spend money on gear, or spending money on a gear is the last thing you should do in creating videos. And so I'm taking something that I believe in and standing up for it. So I don't think you should be spending money on gear. I think where you should be spending money is where most people are lacking and failing in their business, and it's on the strategies and the know-how, not on these bits of gear. So I'll do a video basically talking about that and what you're doing to yourself and your business by thinking that you need to, spend money on gear and not actually focusing on the things that are going to get you the high results. And often those videos are laden with B-roll, which is known as supporting video. So if I say I was typing on my computer, I might show a video of me typing on my computer. That's B-roll. And some motivational music as well. So it's about creating an all-over feel from the imagery and music, taking a topic that you believe in, that you're going to stand up for, and explaining to people how it can help them, basically.
Okay, perfect. I think that was a great description and gives me some ideas of some videos that I can create too.
Yeah, good.
Hello, course creators. Are you struggling with marketing and selling your online course? If so, then head over to our free community where successful course creators are ready to help you create, market, and sell your expertise. Go to onlinecourseigniter.com/community now to join. That's onlinecourseigniter.com/community. All right, let's switch it up a little bit. You said in the beginning of this conversation that you suffered a little bit from low self-esteem, but it sounds like you don't suffer that anymore. So I want to know, a lot of people that I speak with don't like being on camera, or they have that fear, the camera, they just freeze up. And I even have people ask me, can we create a course and not even be on camera? But for those that do want to be on camera and are kind of fearful, how do you overcome that fear? How do you become more confident on camera?
Yeah, I love how you said like a little. I had like a little. It was a lot, let's be clear. So for me, when I would appear on camera or in any situation where I was like the center of attention, it was too much. I was overwhelmed and I would literally cry. This is just my defense mechanism. It's not a fun one, but it is what it is. So when I would appear on camera, it was much the same. It was that fear. Generally it boils down to your fear of judgment of other people, less about your fear of the camera and more about judgment. But what I did is once with a series of little tips I'll share with you through this story. So when I realized I had to appear on camera, I was like, okay, I have to do it. I have to figure out a way to do it. I set up my tripod. And before I knew how to Bluetooth remote and all that kind of stuff, I got my wife to press record, make sure I was, in the frame. And then I made her go to the entire other end of the house and put those big over-ear headphones on, so that she couldn't hear me. And then I'd be like, can you hear me? And she didn't respond. So I'm like, good, okay. So the first thing was that I had to find a safe space. Now for me, a safe space wasn't just my home. It was like my home with no one around. And even knowing that she was actually in the background there was still a bit of fear there. That's the first thing, is to find a safe space. Then I delivered my terrible piece to camera where I'm constantly blinking to just try and stop the tears from coming out. I don't smile very much. I think I did manage a smile in the beginning, but not in the end of my video. That's about the only time I smile. But then once I was done, I couldn't even watch it back. So watching it back was I was so critical of myself that I couldn't even do it. So right. I got someone I trusted to watch my videos, which for me, obviously, is my wife, because she looks at me through rose-colored glasses, and so it would make you feel better. So what I noticed is that when she would look at my videos, the most criticism or constructive feedback I would get is, it would be great if you could smile more. Now, you can take that on board, and you try and think about smiling through your videos. It will actually just come naturally as you do get more comfortable. So don't go crazy on it. Don't feel like you have to force a smile, because that might look even creepier. Um, but the thing that I noticed is that she would comment and go, "Whoa, I never knew you could do that with your phone," or "Wow, that's so cool that you're able to do this." She wasn't focusing on, and she would let me know if she thought that my appearance wasn't
Right.
amenable to outside audiences, but she never
Right.
looked at the things that I saw. And so that's what I realized. She didn't see, "Oh, you look tired today," or "Your hair looks," the things I think about myself. "Oh, your hair looks stupid. You need to get a haircut," or "Your voice sounds lame," or whatever these things we tell ourselves. That was none of that came into her constructive feedback that she gave me. It was more about, "Wow, that content is awesome." Um, and so then what you do is you put them out there. When you get a little bit of confidence, you start putting a few videos out there. And when you do start out, what you'll find more often than not is, well, if you don't get any views on your videos, no one's seen them, but that doesn't, that's not so scary. You're like, woohoo, no one saw it. But when you do start to get comments, often they're comments that are people who genuinely like what you're doing, and they're like, "Wow, thank you so much. This has helped me. Um, I love that you were able to deliver that so clearly, and no one has explained that so clearly before." Like, there'll be comments like that. And this is the same with all my students that I work with. They've never had trolls. Well, none of them actually had trolls yet, so they're just not big enough. But once you get big enough, we'll talk about that. But
Mhm.
the first thing is that the people will genuinely like your videos. So as they start commenting, two things I want you to do is take a screenshot of those good comments, because you are going to need them. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. And the other thing is, I incorporated that into my process. So I have my safe space, someone else watch it for me, and to show up for people I was trying to help. So being on camera had nothing to do with me. I didn't want to be like a YouTube star and people recognize me. I was showing up for the people I was trying to help. So that's what kept me motivated, is having a safe space, getting someone else to give me feedback that I trusted, and to show up for those who really actually needed my stuff. Now, I do want to touch on this, is that one day you will have a troll. It's inevitable, I think. I don't think you're ever really 100% prepared for it. But all those screenshots that I told you to take of every good positive comment, when you get that troll, you go back and look at all those screenshots. Because what you'll notice is that one person that decided that they felt super safe and had a bad day and want to make someone else feel bad, that's one person, as opposed to all those other people who you were actually helping. And so that sort of
Mm.
helped me sort of start to overcome the troll fear. And as I got more confident on camera and in myself, which being in business has allowed me to really grow my self-esteem exponentially. Now when I get comments like, I'll give you one, and it just makes me laugh now. "Sorry, but you look like a guy." And I was like, "Okay, that like, your perception doesn't offend me." So, and it just kind of just becomes something you shrug off as you do become more self-confident. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you gave some really great advice. Finding a safe space, I never really thought of that myself. Um, I've just, I don't know, like I feel like sometimes I just have to fool myself that no one's watching. Like I just got to be like, it's just
fake
me
it
and
till
this
you make it.
piece of electronic. And you hit on a good point that I think a lot of people should pay attention to is, unfortunately, you're not going to be a rock star coming out of the gate. But
No.
that's also a good thing, because typically in the beginning, there's not a lot of people paying attention, and it
Mhm.
kind of gives you a chance to, like, get on camera and try it out. And if you don't do good, it's okay, because typically in the beginning, there's not a lot of people there anyways.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, and you can go back on YouTube and like look at my first video, and it's horrible. It's still sitting there. It's a great example for everyone. And so as you make more videos, you will become better, and you can go back and watch that first video and go, "Holy moly, look how far I came!"
Mhm.
And it'll just blow your mind if you do keep at
Oh,
it. It is about sort of just keeping at it and instilling those safe space. Which, by the way, it can be somewhere outside. Like, it could be in a forest when no one. My thing is no one's around, so I can
yeah,
never
right.
do it in a crowd. Now I can, but you don't feel like you have to be outside in a park and there's someone walks by. Go and find a space where someone doesn't walk by. So find that safe space. Sorry, I just got a bit. I'm a big fan of the safe space. I think you need to feel safe
Yeah.
yourself.
No, no, I think that's awesome. I think that's important for a lot of people because a lot of people want to be on camera. They want to help people. They tell themselves like, "Yeah, I'm doing this for someone else." But when they get in front of that camera and that record button turns red, they just freeze up.
Yeah.
But having that safe space where no one's around, it's just you. You can mess up. You can always edit it
Mhm.
later on if you need to. I think that is really important. I also wanted to talk on. Let me see here. I wrote some notes down because you had mentioned our wanting everything to be perfect, and you mentioned earlier about doing a YouTube video on like camera and gear and stuff, and that
Mm,
is something that I fell into, and I almost feel like maybe it's a mechanism for procrastinating from the
mhm,
fear of getting on camera because when I started I did everything in my power to make it look perfect.
mm,
I got the 3-point lighting system, I got the color LEDs, I got the best microphones and the DSLRs and the lenses. Nowadays, I do pretty much all my stuff on my phone,
mm.
and I usually don't even. I travel now, so I can't just travel with a 3-point lighting setup, anyways.
Yeah.
but you find ways around those things. You use outdoors, you use natural lighting, you realize that your phone is good enough as any other camera. It doesn't have to be over the top. And then I feel like that's very liberating for people because you can shed that perfectionism and really focus on the message. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I too suffered from perfectionism slightly from a different angle because I was a filmmaker and films are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But you're making that for a totally different audience. But yeah, it's not about being perfect, and especially the way things are sort of have progressed online. It is, I say with a grain of salt, authentic. You have to be authentic, right?
Hmm.
I think you still need to be effective, and you have to create videos that actually get you a result. But it is about being more authentic, and that might be that you muck up a little bit, or you don't have the most perfect lighting. As long as people can see you and hear you, and your message, yeah, like you said, is the key here. Your message and your delivery in terms of getting it to your audience, they're actually more important than having the best lighting. And honestly, I think having your phone and starting with that makes you a better and faster video maker than having all the other gear. One, it is quicker having a phone and not a DSLR, but you start to understand what works and what doesn't. Whereas some people go, I'm going to go buy a gimbal and the 3-point lighting system, but they have no idea how to use them. And then
Yeah.
they spend more time doing that than actually creating the content. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. I need to multiply the f-stop by the lens millimeters. I don't know what I'm doing
No one knows
here.
what that means when they're starting out, eh? Yeah.
Just give me a point and shoot and let me just autofocus and I'll be good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, that's really cool. Okay, so we talked about being confident on camera, and we talked a little bit about the some video strategies. So thinking back to when you first started and you were still trying to figure this stuff out, right? Like
Mm,
you want to create a course. I mean, you already have a step in the video direction because you had been doing film and video for so long,
yeah.
but there's so much more to creating a course,
Oh, yeah.
right? There's the outlining, the structuring, getting it in front of other people. So right now there are people listening who haven't created a course or in the beginning stages. Is there any good pieces of advice that you could give to those people who are just trying to get their foot in the door?
Great question. Look, my opinion is when I wanted to create a course, again, I said I did Kajabi because I wanted to have the for me the right best, in my opinion, option for my course. It's the same when I decided, well, do I want to create an online course and actually turn this business into an more of an online business? Then I want to know the best way to how to do that. So I actually bought into a program in order to do that because I want to learn from someone who's been there before, has done it right, so I get the quickest path to doing it. Now I recognize that is not everyone's mindset. That's kind of how I work in terms of, well, I need to learn Instagram better, then I'll go and buy Alex Tubi's course, or I'll go and buy, Brandon Lucero's video course. I do see a value in if you want to do something right to go and spend the money on the person who knows how to do it. For you, it could be anyone. Like, there's so many people out there. You just need to find someone who resonates with you. But beyond that, I think getting started, yeah, there's a lot of elements. You do need to have someone explain the elements, I guess, to you. At least if you can find someone help you with, like Jeremy said, you've got to plan your content, you've got to structure it out, you've got to create your videos, you've got to find a course platform, you've got to obviously launch it in some way, whether you're doing a video series, a webinar, a 5-day challenge, an email marketing, whatever it is. You've got to actually get people in and create it. There is a lot of elements. It is about getting started, but I think you just need to join a group. Like, where did we meet each other, Jeremy? The Course Creators something or other. What was it called?
Yeah, one of the online course
One of
creators
the
group.
other,
Yep.
find a group that will help you at least outline the structure. And if you're a give it a go type person, then give it a go. And if you fail, give it another go, or or join a program that will help you fill in those missing pieces. But it is about making the decision that's right for you. Either it's you spend the money and get someone to help you figure it all out, or you try it yourself and put the hard yards in on your alone. But at least having for someone who can explain the overall structure, because there are a lot of moving parts. It's not impossible by any means to figure it out yourself, but it just might take a little bit longer. So get started now, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. Getting started is the biggest one because a lot of people freeze and don't move, and you got to get going. But having someone, a mentor, a coach, or someone who's been there ahead of you, can help you, map out where to go, I think is big. And it's something I think that if I could go back in time, that I might do differently
Mm,
because I waited way too long.
yeah,
When you're starting out, especially like me, I'm bootstrapping. I'm trying to spend as little money as possible and get profits and still work my day job and all
sure.
these things. It's hard for you to say, well, I'm going to go spend money for someone just to give me information. But in hindsight, knowing what I know now, I've spent thousands of dollars in coaches and
Mhm.
people who have been able to propel me much further in a much faster time
Yeah.
than had I tried to just figure it out myself. And so I totally agree with you. I think that's a great piece of advice, not one that people give too often, but I think it's really important because, I mean, we're not really coming up with anything new, right? I mean,
Yeah.
everything that we're teaching has been taught in one form or another.
Yeah.
So go find the person who's doing it. Like you said, it's got to resonate with you. It's got to be someone that you enjoy and you agree with,
Yeah.
and go out there and find that person and see if they can help you out.
Yeah, and I just want to. I thought I'd just mention a quick. I met with a student of mine she's a part of my mentorship for creating an online course, and she emailed me. She's like, "I'm behind on my timeline." She was going to launch, I think, early January. I'm behind on my timeline. I can't do this, and you freak out, as you do. I had a freak out too when I created my first course, and so all I said to her is like, "You've got your plan. So what if you're not going to make the timeline of January, whatever date it was?" Because she had some things come up, master's degree and a few other elements that were all sort of taking priority. And I get that things change. But I guess if you have your plan or you're working with someone, don't just give up. Do a little bit. Just do that one landing page over the course of the next 2 weeks. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? You don't have to condense it all into a week or 6 weeks or whatever your timeline is made for yourself. Just do one little bit each week, half a landing page, or write out the script for a video or whatever it is, so that you're making that progress. Even if it's a bit slower than you're anticipating, you're still putting into action what it is that you want that final result to be.
Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing advice. Thank you so much for that,
Oh, you're
Frankie.
welcome.
Where do you see your business going in the future? Where would you like to take your online course and your online business in general?
That's I know you prepped me and you said, I'm going to ask you this question. And I was like, oh, no. So I guess for the most part, obviously want to grow and scale. Don't we all as entrepreneurs and business owners want to grow and scale what we're doing, reach more people, make more impact, make more money and freedom in our lives? And I'm no different from anyone else. That is entirely what I want to do. But I guess my focus this year is to make my business more sustainable without me being there at every turn. So I think what COVID demonstrated to me is that we are very lucky here in New Zealand. I sort of want to preface with that. I know a lot of people around the world listening and having a really tough time. And we are very fortunate here in New Zealand with very few cases touch wood. But during our peak, uh, I have two kids, and the kids were both at home. So my working capacity went from about 60 to 70% of my week being working to about 10 to 20%.
Hmm.
And so if I can't, I'm the sole income earner for my family. If I can't work, then we don't make money and we can't live. So coming year, my focus is to be able to have an element of my business. So I am going to be working on evergreen content more this year that has something coming in regardless of whether or not I'm there. And I think it's something really important to think about as a business owner or entrepreneur. That if something was to happen to you, what would happen to your business? Like if you had not something drastic, like you can never work again, but say you're out for a couple of weeks because you have an injury that impacts what you do. How's your business going to survive? And I never really thought about it, and it just became really clear to me during that lockdown that we had that it is something we all should think about, is trying to make our business sustainable or a level of sustainability without having us there at every turn.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good stuff. And I think that's why a lot of us like the online business life, is that we can create assets, we can create products that we can put online and continue to serve people 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it's real powerful. I love asking that question. I tell everyone at the beginning, I usually don't go by a question sheet, but the one question I like asking is that one. And I think it's because most people have never thought about it before.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
When I ask it, I'm getting some really good, truthful answer, because it's, I haven't thought about that. What do I want to do?
Yeah, I just
Awesome.
finished my business plan, and that was definitely in my plan. So
good. Well, I'm glad we did this episode after that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you might have been stuck.
You're totally right.
No, Frankie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing your insights into just video and marketing and camera confidence. I think that you provided a lot of really good information for people to take away. If they wanted to find out more about you, your business, your online courses, where can they do that?
Yeah, so I'm going to make sure that Jeremy puts some links below, because I am in the process of rebranding. But you can find me on all the socials under Get Ahead Media, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I recently got rid of Twitter, so just those three. And then my actual website, this is the rebranding thing, is francescajagotraining.mykajabi.com. Bit of a mouthful. Hence, there'll be links below. I'm going to put a link to an easy 10-step iPhone video guide and Android video guide. So depending on what platform you're on, so you can actually start creating videos that look good just using your phone.
Okay, perfect. Yes, we'll definitely link up your social media profiles, your business, and all that in the show notes, and the link to that guide. That's awesome. Sounds like a good cheat sheet. And thank you for coming on the podcast today. We really appreciate you being here.
This has been really great, Jeremy. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Frankie. You can find out more about her and her business by visiting getaheadmedia.com. Or you can get the show notes of this episode along with links and resources by visiting onlinecourseigniter.com/21. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Online Course Igniter podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening so that you don't miss an episode. If you would like to learn more marketing strategies and how to sell your online course, then also check out our free community where we share tips, tricks, and tutorials at onlinecourseigniter.com/community.